Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I have read multiple times, and I consider myself someone who likes to read books like more than once, especially if I really loved them. So the books I'm going to be showing you guys are books that I totally 100% absolutely loved, and they're some of my all-time favorite books. So the first book on this list is The Pender Wakes by Jeanne Birdsall, and I actually don't even have the original dust jacket for this book, and I absolutely love this book. I didn't think I was going to like it when I first read it, but I ended up falling in love with it, and I think I've read it maybe 2 or 3 times. This book is middle grade, and it is so cute. I don't really remember everything about this book because I don't think I've read it since I was maybe, I'd say 14 years old. But it is so cute, and I think I definitely want to reread it again sometime soon. The next book on this list is The Other Countess by Eve Edwards, and I love this book so much. It's historical fiction, and it is set in the 1500s, and it is so good. I have read this book at least 3 or 4 times, and I love it. It is so romantic, it is so sweet, and I just love the romance in this book. Like, just the couple is just amazing, and I love them, and I have so many feelings towards this book. It is so good. And if you're trying to get into historical fiction, I totally recommend this book first. It is YA, it is so cool, and I absolutely love it. The next book comes as absolutely no surprise, and that is Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine, and unfortunately I have this really awful cover, which is like the movie poster. It has Anne Hathaway on it, and I mean, I love Anne Hathaway and I love the movie, but I do not like this cover at all. I really want to get like a cover that's super pretty, or at least the original cover would be super cool, but I love this book, and you can totally tell that I loved it. It is like just so damaged and is so gross. Like, it has like staining on the top and it's just like all messed up, but I loved this book so much. I've read it at least a dozen times, like at least a dozen times, and I know I'm going to read it a dozen more times at least. I love this book so much. It's basically a retelling of Cinderella, and it's amazing. It is just one of my all-time favorite books ever. It's a middle grade. I read it I think when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and it is awesome and super amazing, and I just would so recommend this book if you haven't read it yet, which is like kind of like amazing to me that people haven't read Ella Enchanted, because it is so good. And I've also read other Gail Carson Levine books, and I love them just as much, and I really wish I had copies of those because I really love Fairest by Gail Carson Levine, and that would be a super cool book to have. The next book is another middle grade book, and that is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume, and that is another book that you can totally see that I loved as a child. I think I got this when I was about 10 years old, and the binding is completely coming apart. There are just like pages that are falling out. It is just, look at that, it's so bad. But I have read this book at least a dozen times, if not 2 dozen times. Like, this book is just one of my all-time favorite books ever. I loved this book. I was like obsessed with reading it. It was just, oh, this story is just so much to me, and I love it so much. I totally recommend, if you haven't read this, even if you're not in middle grade or you're not in like the target audience for this book, I totally recommend it. It is so cute and so amazing, and it holds so many good memories for me. Another book that is actually kind of surprising that I've read multiple times is Mini Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella, and I really love the Shopaholic series. I have like, I think almost all of the books I have, except for maybe I don't have the first one, but I loved this book. This is actually the first Shopaholic book that I got. I kind of came into the series really late, and I just started reading whichever book I got first, and this was the book I got first. And I know this is kind of like a few books into the series, but I just started reading it and I loved it so much. And then I started reading the other books before it and then after it, and it was just kind of a mess, but I love this book so much. I've read it at least 2 or 3 times, I want to say, and I absolutely love it. I love the Shopaholic series, and if you haven't read it, you need to read it, because it is so funny. Like, her writing is hilarious, and every single book starts off with like an email to Becky Bloomwood just being like, dude, like, stop emailing us, you're so weird, and I absolutely love it. I love Becky and I love this story, and this one in particular is just so cute. I love it. So many feels, so much fluff. I absolutely love it. Another book that I've read, I think maybe 2 or 3 times, has been Halo by Alexandra Adornetto. And this book is like super sun damaged because it was just left in the car for like ever, and just like the pages are yellow, and this actually isn't even the right color of the cover. Like you can see this is what the cover should look like. It's kind of like a yellowy color and it turned red in the sun. So I loved this book. This was like an angel sort of urban fantasy book, and this is kind of when I was first getting into fantasy, like after Twilight and stuff. And so I read Halo and I absolutely loved it. I think I read it at least 2 or 3 times. And it's pretty good. I actually kind of want to reread this one because I always meant to get Hades, which is the sequel to this book, and I never ended up getting it. I never read it. So I think I might want to reread this one at some point in the future and then get Hades as well and read that. One of my favorite sequels of all time that I've read at least, I want to say, 6 times has been New Moon by Stephenie Meyer. I was a huge Twilight fan back in the day. Like, I loved Twilight. I still do. I still reread this book every once in a while when I'm feeling kind of down or when I want to, you know, be a little nostalgic. I totally go back to this book all the time because it was my favorite one of the series. I love New Moon. There are so many things that I love about this book, and I'm not even like a Bella and Jacob shipper. Like, I've always been Bella and Edward, but I love New Moon. Like, New Moon just, oh, it does something to my heart, and it's the only copy of any Twilight book that I own, and I love it. It is also slightly damaged. It has been well loved, and I love it. It reminds me of fall. It reminds me of autumn, and it is just so awesome and just amazing, and I love it so much. The very last book on this list is Divergent by Veronica Roth, and this is also another copy that has been well loved, and it is just, this cover is just completely falling apart, and I love this book so much. Like, I love it so much. I actually can't remember where I got it. I can't remember if I bought it at my local bookstore or if I bought it at Costco. I actually can't remember, but I have read this at least 2 or 3 times, and I love this book so much, and every time I reread it, I remember how much I love Divergent. Like, I feel like whenever I look at Allegiant, I'm just like, I hate Divergent, I hate this series so much. But then I come back and I read this book and I remember how much I absolutely love it. And it just, like, this book does not deserve Allegiant. That was a trash book, and this book does not deserve it at all. I love Divergent, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna reread it, but it was the book that kind of like reclaimed my love of dystopian after I read Mockingjay, and I hated Mockingjay. I was like super upset, and then I read this book and everything was better, and I just love it so much. And this one holds a really special place in my heart because I remember reading it for the first time, and I was in San Diego and I brought this around with me, and it really just, oh, I love it so much. It has so many good memories with it. Alright, so that was my video, and in the comments down below, let me know some of the books that you have reread at least more than once or twice. And if you're not really a rereader, then just like let me know some of your favorite books of all time, because I am always looking for book recommendations, and I would love to hear your guys' favorite books. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!